Shalawam, I'm your brother Yahawashi from the branch of GMS, South Carolina Midlands. And before we start off, all praise, honor, and glory belongs to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, HaQadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone who teach and who rule well. And Shalawam to you, hopeful elect, scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. To you, I say Shalawam. They're talking about ceasefires, peace talks, all right, with the whole U.S., Israel, and Iran conflict. All right, Trump pulling back, the campaign to bomb, Iran for not opening up the Strait of Hormuz. And we know that, this whole talks of ceasefire, we know that this whole situation is going to eventually escalate. All right, World War III will get to the point of nuclear destruction, annihilation, of Babylon the Great and the Small Hatters. All right, but this right here, is a part of prophecy, of them speaking on peace and safety. Matter of fact, let's read it. 1 Thessalonians 5:1. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. Yeah, because we're measuring the times. We know what times we're in. And the prophets have been warning what times we're in. Start with the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone on down. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. It's going to catch a lot of people, a lot of Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans off guard. For when they shall say peace and safety, they're talking about ceasefires right now. I believe it was 10 days, if I'm not mistaken. 2 weeks, Salakia. Trump agrees to 2 weeks ceasefire if Iran opens the Strait of Hormuz. So this is, talks of peace and safety. All the preppers, they thought Trump was gonna, bomb Iran tonight. He posted at 8 p.m. He was gonna wipe out a whole civilization. Matter of fact, let me get some of these posts. Nero talking crazy. All right. So here in ChatGPT, just looking up some of the latest posts on Trump's social media, Truth Social, and just reading bulletin point number 1. It says Iran ultimatum, war threat. Trump Nero posted a major warning to Iran tied to the Strait of Hormuz. He said Iran must reopen it or face devastating U.S. attacks, including infrastructure like power plants and bridges. And the source is from the New York Post. And it says, one widely reported line from his post, and this is his latest post, a whole civilization will die tonight. And that source is from Vox. Okay, and that's Nero talking real crazy. All right, before the whole coming to this whole ceasefire of 2 weeks, man. Okay, and we know that's ultimately what's on this devil's mind. What's on his heart. It is war. Okay, that's how this devil gets down. The Lord blessed him with his blessing of the sword, and this devil wants to wage war with everybody and take lands and take resources. All right. I believe that's in the book of Psalms. Okay. Book of Psalms chapter 55 and verse 21. And it reads, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. So this whole ceasefire, man, I would not, if I was the Iranians, I would not trust these devils, because there's already receipts, and this devil has shown you that he is the devil and that he can't keep his word or his promise, because these devils already done bombed Iran, the U.S. and the Small Hatters during peace talks. Okay, I looked this up on ChatGPT. Did America and Israel bomb Iran during peace talks before? Short answer, yes. They are documented recent cases, 2025 and 2026, where Israel and the United States carried out strikes on Iran while negotiating or peace efforts, you see, were happening or expected to happen. All right. So you can't trust this devil in his word, man. He always goes back on it. You can look at the example with Gad for a reference, how they came and took America. Made all types of treaties with our Northern Kingdom brothers and broke them all and stabbed them in the back and took the land. All right. Put them on reservations. Okay. So this is all biblical prophecy. They speaking about ceasefires or peace talks right now. Right, but reading it, 1 Thessalonians 5:3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So we know that ultimately destruction will follow. Okay. Because as we read in Psalms 55:21, it's going to escalate. War is in his heart. The Lord will put it on his spirit, Esau, to go into this third world war. The Lord's determination is to gather the nations, all these heathens and their armies, so that he can destroy them. They can fight against one another. All right. Yahawashi returns and destroy these heathen armies, man. Okay. Excuse me. And he also wants to destroy Babylon the Great. And the Lord will destroy Babylon the Great during this third world war, man. Okay, so understand, we know perfectly, within prophecy, that things will not go back to normal. All right, it won't be a peace agreement, and everything just goes back to business as usual. And you Israelites get to go back into your house of feasting, all right, partying, spirit, and get rocked back to sleep into Babylon, man. Okay, this thing is gonna escalate. It's gonna pick up. That's one thing we know. All right, because America, Babylon the Great is slated for destruction, right? And the homeland of Israel is slated for destruction. But the difference between that and America is that America is going to be a wasteland, a desert. Okay? So don't be fooled by the ceasefire, and don't grow weary in the faith, because we've seen things getting hot and picking up. All right? Things are still hot. Okay? For all we know, these devils can come with this whole 2-week ceasefire, and within this week, go against that word and do something against Iran while their guard is down, so to speak. So yeah, just continue, all right, to be occupied in prophecy, man. To continue to keep watch, all right, because we know this thing is gonna escalate, man. Let me finish Psalms 55:21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So we know that this devil ultimately, he has intent to truly go into war. They have intent to truly take over the Strait of Hormuz, take over Iran, and specifically speaking about the small hatters, the Amalekites. Okay, their whole agenda of the greater Israel project, to where they want to have a foothold, a stronghold, all right, with over there in what's called the Middle East, Western Asia, and they're going to use the muscle of the whore, America, Babylon the Great, man, to do so. Okay, that's the whole reason America, Babylon the Great is involved in this third world war, because of the least of the flock. Okay, I know it's in 2 chapters in Jeremiah. Okay, yep, Jeremiah 49:20. Therefore hear the counsel of the Lord Yahawah, Bahasham Yahawashi, that he have taken against Edom. So this is addressing the Edomites, the so-called white man. The ones who's in power, Babylon, America, the Amalekites, and his purposes that he have purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. And who is that least of the flock? Those small hatters. Benjamin, not a Jew. Okay? And, all those tiny tops. Okay? Trump and his cabinet, he's getting his his advice, his advisories, his small hatters, man. Okay? They're leading them into this third world war, and eventually it'll get all these major players in this third world war, the war to end all wars. Russia, China, all right? India, okay? Iran already involved, these major key players into this third world war. Okay? NATO, all of the Western nations, all of them gonna get involved into this third world war. And the small hatters, okay, is using Babylon the Great, America, to kick this thing off, man. All right? And it's a beautiful thing to see, man. Okay? Yahawah bringing his word to pass, man. Okay? Zephaniah 3:8. Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord Yahawah, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination, the Lord's judgment, his decision, is to gather the nations, these heathen nations, their armies, right? That I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. And that's the Lord going to gather them over in, Western Asia, which is known as the Middle East, in the valley of Jehoshaphat, or Yahawashi, right, which means Yahweh's judgment, to judge these devils, to pour fire upon them. Yahawashi going, melt these heathen armies in this third world war when they turn to fight against them. You can read about that, 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter. Okay, so I wanted to get that book of Joel to prove that point. Okay, let me get this video real quick, man, and we'll jump back to that.
Just getting some breaking news here about the war. The president has just issued a truth social from the White House saying this: based on conversations with Prime Minister Sharif and Field Marshal Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they requested that I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran, agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States of America as president, and also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem close to resolution. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Again, just seconds ago, before the death.
So you see, they came to a quote-unquote agreement, and they're trying to finalize it. Okay? But like I said, be weary, be leery of these devils, man. Okay, these devils don't know how to keep an agreement to save their life, and we know these devils will stab you in the back any chance they get. Getting back into, there's this ChatGPT, prompt right here. It says key confirmed examples very clear, on Israel and the U.S. bombing Iran already. They already got receipts while having peace talks. June 2025, Israeli strikes during active talks. Israel launched major strikes on Iran on June 13, 2025, At the time, the U.S.-Iran nuclear talks were still ongoing, with another round scheduled just days later. Those negotiations were immediately suspended after the attacks. Okay, another example: U.S. bombing shortly after during negotiation pressures. On June 2000, on June the 21st, 2025, the U.S. bombed multiple Iranian nuclear facilities. At the same time, the U.S. was still signaling interest in a deal. Officials were trying to restart negotiations. Military threats were used as leverage in diplomacy. And then you have in February, okay, strikes despite ongoing talks on February 28, 2026. The U.S. and Israel launched large coordinated attacks on Iran. This is what kicked this whole thing off. Okay. And, they've been going at it ever since till we got up to this point of quote unquote ceasefire. It says reports indicate this happened despite ongoing and recent negotiation over Iran's nuclear program. Okay. And they're saying that this is an illegal war because there was no interest or signs that Iran had interest on trying to attack. They say they struck Iran because they felt that Iran was going to attack. It's really the small hatters, the Amalekites, push Nero 47 and America Babylon the Great to bomb Iran, to get involved into the Third World War to fulfill biblical prophecy. It's ultimately Yahawah kicked this thing all off, man, using the players that he set up. Okay. And, current reports show peace talks and ceasefire negotiations happening at the same time as threats or actual strikes. Israel conducting strikes while diplomacy is being discussed. The U.S. threatening bombing while claiming talks are active. So, yeah, man. Do not trust these devils, man. If Iran was smart, they would not trust these devils. But, hey, we'll have to wait and see. We know these devils will stab you in the back as soon as they can. I'm going to read it one more time. 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So this whole ceasefire got these Republicans, these Democrats, these Babylonians, these Americans, in a sigh of relief. The preppers, the ones keeping up with the news, these military men, got them in a sigh of relief right now with the whole ceasefire talks and finalizations. Okay, but believe me, right, and believe the scriptures. This Third World War will kick off. Yahawah will gather these nations into what is called the Middle East today, or Western Asia. All right, so he can get this Third World War kicked off and destroy Esau, Edom. All right, destroy these heathens, their armies, and Babylon the Great, man. Okay, and these small hatters as well. All right, so Joel 3 and verse 9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, being these heathen nations, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. So this is what the Lord wants. Okay, remember there are times and seasons, and there's times and seasons set by who? Yahawashi. Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. And remember, the Lord established America, Babylon the Great. The Lord established these devils in power. Pursuant to Daniel 4:17, the Lord ruleth in the kingdom of men, and set it up whomsoever he will, and set up over the bases of men. So the Lord got these devils and placed them in power. And the Lord about to pluck them up, man. It says a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get, a time to lose, a time to keep, and a time to cast away, a time to rend, and a time to sow, and a time to keep silence, and a time to speak. Oh, and we in a time to where this prophets are speaking. Yahawashi is speaking. All right. And once upon a time, the Lord kept silence. The Lord ain't have his prophets out there, but the Lord is speaking right now, man. And it says a time to love and a time to hate. And you think we're in a time of love right now? No, hate is at an all-time high. Wickedness is at an all-time high, man. Okay? A time of war and a time of peace. And we surely ain't in no time of peace right now. The war drums are beating, man. All right, so Joel 3:9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, the heathens, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. So the Lord got it on these heathen spirit, to get their offensive, their nuclear capabilities, their militaries, their tanks, their armory together. Instead of investing, predominantly in agriculture so they can get prepared for this Third World War. And who's the weak saying I am strong? Well, Iran, for example, they once upon a time they wouldn't have dared came up against America, Babylon the Great. Okay? You look at North Korea, how they speak against Babylon the Great. And they test fire their nuclear capabilities because the playing field is even now. Okay? But with those ICBMs, man. All right, it's nuclear missiles. And it says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Yahweh Shemashah, so the Lord is gathering these nations. And the Lord is going to send forth his mighty ones, the angels, starting with Yahawashi in the midst of this Third World War. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Yahawah, which is Yahweh's judgment. All right, the valley of decision. All right, the mountain of troops over with Western Asia. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So this is what the Lord wants to do. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come and get you down, for the press is full and the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes of multitudes. It's like multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord Yahweh Shemashai is near in the valley of decision. And the Lord is surely, about to show his anger, all right, upon these heathens and their armies, man, upon these devils, man. Okay, and the Lord is coming to gather his elect, man. All right, so ain't no going back, ain't no reversing, ain't no peace talks and going back to everything hunky-dory. World War III will take place. All right, the MOTB will be pushed. Jacob's trouble will ensue. Famine will take place. Okay? And Yahawashi is about to return, man. There is no going back. All right? So, getting one more precept, and I'm going to end it off. Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. So World War III is here. We're living in time of World War III. The war to end all wars, the end of the Edomites, the end of the heathens. And the seventh angel sounded, and there was a great voice in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world. All right. All these heathens had their rulership. Esau's in his heaven right now, his rulership. And you got the heathens, joined into his kingdom. The kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord, being Yahawashi, given to him by his father Yahawah, and of his Hamashiach, his anointed, being the elect. And he shall reign forever and ever. And that's the bottom line. So yeah, they talking about peace talks, but we know sudden destruction, is right around the corner, man. Don't get comfortable here in Babylon the Great. Don't get caught up in the cares and affairs of this life. Okay, keep fighting the spiritual battle. All right, stay occupied in prophecy. All right, because Yahweh Shemashai is wrapping this thing up, man. All right, Yahweh Shemashai is about to get us. Lord, what is edifying to the elect? With that, I say Shalawam, Shalawam to the hopeful elect.